everyone, it's Chris with the Black Filmmaker Guide, just coming to you with another video. I want to talk to you about my experience of going to Hollywood, California.
On the freeway, the NYC way, on the celly with my homeboy Lance.
So a few years ago, I had a vacation and I flew out to Los Angeles, California, and it was a really amazing trip. I made another video talking about my experience of going to New York, and it was my first time going there. And so when I went out to California, it was also my first time and first experience as well. And the purpose for me going out there is I love movies and I love the whole industry. So what I wanted to do was go out there and get an experience of just a feel for how things are. Obviously, I want to go to all the touristy areas and see that stuff. I want to see Hollywood Boulevard, Sunset Boulevard, see the Hollywood sign, just all the touristy stuff you can imagine. But one of the things I also wanted to do, and this is very important, I wanted to visit all the big major movie studios. I wanted to go to Warner Brothers, Fox, Paramount, Sony, and Universal. And my purpose for going to these studios is, I mentioned this a little bit before in my other video when I was talking about going to New York, is I'm from a small town in Florida, and always seeing everything on TV and in movies and just seeing that industry from afar, it almost seems like a dream to me. But going to these places and seeing it firsthand, it turned a dream into a reality. So it was an amazing trip. I flew out from West Palm Beach and went out to California. So I saw the mountains and cool stuff like that, and flew into LAX. One thing I learned was that the style, you see a lot of magazines and fashion magazines, and one thing I learned is that the entire industry and style comes from New York and California. I mean, you see people walking down the street and they literally look like they came from a magazine. So that was pretty interesting to me. And one of the things that's really shocking too is the homeless population that is in California. I was on Hollywood Boulevard, and I'm telling you, the homeless people seemed like they were almost an attraction, just like some of the actors in costumes. I don't know, the homeless population there is really bad. It's crazy. But it was an overall interesting experience. Going down Hollywood Boulevard, there was a lot of people in costumes and dressed up. Taking photos and pictures like that. I even took a picture of Spider-Man, and that was not a good experience. One thing I didn't know is that those guys work for tips, and it kind of makes sense too. I mean, a lot of them are sitting, in there in really hot costumes, and they're there to make money for the tourists. Santa Monica was amazing. One of the things I also wanted to do was see, I'm from Florida, I live on the East Coast, and I've seen the Atlantic Ocean. One of the things I also want to do was see the Pacific Ocean. So I had an opportunity to see that. So another thing I experienced in California was the crazy traffic. A lot of people talk about the 405, I believe it's the 405 or the 408, and just how bad the traffic is. And let me tell you, they are not lying. I was trying to come back from Santa Monica during rush hour. Coming back from Santa Monica, I sat in traffic for probably 30 minutes just trying to get to like 4 or 5 blocks. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, if you're there, probably the best thing when driving is probably a moped, because you can weave in and out of traffic and get to where you need to get to quickly. But being on vacation, I just took it as an experience and just kind of enjoyed it, listened to my music. I had my rental car, but I can see how it would be stressful for somebody who actually lives in California, works in California, and is just trying to get home. And I'm glad I did it, so I can at least now have a reference to what people are talking about. I also went down Rodeo Drive and got to see that experience. Went to Beverly Hills. That's some of the more high-end places in California where all the rich people live. I had a chance to drive there and kind of see and experience some of the amazing houses and different things like that. There was probably celebrities there, who knows, but the houses were amazing, immaculate, huge. Going to Rodeo Drive was crazy, and just seeing all the high-end fashion stores and different things like that. I remember I walked into a watch store, and there was a security guy just right there, and I'm just looking at all the watches, sitting behind glass, and I asked the guy. I think one of the watches had to be about $500,000. I mean, it was insane, and it was just cool to be in that environment, be around that celebrity culture. I mean, a lot of people sometimes are probably immune to it, but I'm fascinated about all that stuff. I love it. Again, from Florida, I looked at all that stuff from afar. So to me, it was really all like a dream to me. So another cool thing I did was I went down the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and saw all the stars. And that was just a cool experience to me, to see all the different celebrities that have, lived throughout the years. Some are still alive, some have passed, from Eddie Murphy, Bill Cosby, Ray Charles, and just all these amazing celebrity and stars who have contributed to the entertainment industry. But the one person I wanted to see by far over anyone else, and which was a top priority to me when I went, was the king of pop, Michael Jackson. And I looked at everybody else's star and like, oh, that's cool. Where's Michael Jackson? Looking at all the stars, walking down the street, going out the block, looking at all the stars. Where's Michael Jackson? Finally, I had to ask somebody, hey, where's Michael Jackson's star? He goes, oh, it's like right there in front of Chinese Theater. So I walked over there and boom, there he was. And, this was after Michael Jackson had passed. So the value to me, it had gone up a lot. Michael Jackson probably got his star back in the 80s. And to me, Michael Jackson is the greatest entertainer of all time, bar none. I mean, I don't think anybody was more famous than that guy. And just his relevance to the culture and what he contributed, what he means for Black culture. His professionalism, his craftsmanship, his gift to humanity and what he gave this world is amazing. He has influenced so many people and has done so many things with his culture and music, and just the philanthropy work he's done and given so much to this world. It's unfortunate that the world probably didn't even deserve somebody that amazing. Just his professionalism, his craftsmanship, and just the creativity, what that guy did. I mean, what's amazing is that everybody, a lot of people knew how to sing. A lot of people knew how to dance. But there was something about that guy and when he performed and what he just did to audience. You know what I mean? He just had a different effect on people. And a lot of celebrities, they should give, a lot of props to Michael Jackson for what he did for, music in terms of just being profitable and having money. Michael Jackson, he was, obviously he was famous for a long time, but he was also rich for a long time. So he was used to money. And then what happened in the 80s when he even got more money, what it did was it showed celebrities and artists how much money you can make in this industry. You know what I mean? There was a story about Jamie Foxx visiting his house and just seeing how much money that this Black artist made. And that motivated other artists, Master P, and further. So, that, seeing Michael Jackson star was just had a significance to me that, I really cherished. So another cool thing that happened to me too was I went down to downtown Los Angeles and saw the Staples Center. And while I was down there, somebody was actually on the street looking for extras to be on a TV show. So they kind of just saw me wandering and they asked if I wanted to be an audience member. So they asked me to come backstage, and what it was it was for Sports Nation, for ESPN, and it's a morning show that has a lot of audience participation. So what they did was they called me back there along with some other people who were real big fans. And basically what we did was just kind of hung backstage and we're audience members and we can kind of participate in the show. I saw some celebrities. There were these two twin comedians. I don't know their names right now, but I got a chance to see them and just different things like that. So it was kind of cool. It was an interesting experience, kind of go behind stage of a live show and kind of see how that worked. Another interesting thing that happened too, while walking down Hollywood Boulevard, there was this guy. He was trying to sell his DVDs. And it turns out he was actually on a TV show. He was on That's So Raven. He was an actor. I don't know his name, but he was selling a DVD that he had put together with some friends of just some little skits he did, things like that. And lo and behold, I actually bought it. I wanted to support local artists, so I got $20 for this DVD. Turned out the DVD was a piece of crap. I mean, it was bad. I mean, it was really bad. But I bought it anyway. My whole purpose of going down there was to visit all the Hollywood studios. So I went to Paramount. I went to Warner Brothers. I went to Fox Studios. I went to Universal and Sony. I even actually walked into Sony. I got out the car. I walked around and I actually went in and asked the guy for an application. I just kind of wanted to see it firsthand. Like, this is the movie industry. This is what this entire industry has been about for many years, even especially going back to the old Hollywood days and the old Hollywood system and things like that, the golden age of Hollywood, as they say. But that stuff is cool to me. I love that stuff. I love that industry. I love, the history of it. I just think it's so fascinating to me, all the creativity and all the stars that have come through there. And I was right there. I actually saw the Hollywood sign too. That was cool. I took a picture of it. But you can actually, I think, travel up there too. You can go up to that observatory. I think, what's the movie? Rebel Without a Cause, I think, with James Dean, I think, was shot there. So I got a chance to go up there and see that. But it was a really cool experience. I love, me personally, a lot of people say California is very expensive, and it is, I'm sure, because so many people are trying to come up there. A lot of people also say, too, it's a very jaded industry. It's very cutthroat. I get that. I can see how that is. I mean, when you have an industry where so many people, when the demand of, when the supply is higher than the demand, I can definitely see how people get jaded. I mean, people go out there trying to live that Hollywood dream, and a lot of people probably end up poor. I get that. I totally understand that. And I'm sure it's expensive. I get that too. A lot of people go out there for a dream. They want to become stars. You know what I mean? It just has that allure about it. And I completely get that. I totally understand that situation. But, I wanted to go. Me personally, I love it. I love the fact that movie stars live there. I love that that's where the movie industry is. That's where all the Hollywood studios are. And that's where all the big meetings happen. I mean, I was just thinking about, like, I was walking down the street and I could see, people like right outside some of the studios, having lunch and things like that. And it just makes you kind of wonder what kind of deals are being made, what kind of, screenplays are probably being written or story concepts are being developed. Just the thought of that entire thing just kind of, it's exciting to me. You know what I mean? But the truth of the matter is, Hollywood, the idea of Hollywood and the movie industry doesn't just live now in California. It lives everywhere, especially now with tax credits and tax incentives. It can live in, it lives now in, Louisiana, it lives in Georgia, it lives in Florida, it lives in almost every other place now, sometimes except California. Yes, a lot of the big studios still exist there. A lot of the meetings are still held there. They have a huge talent pool there of creative people. A lot of the guilds are still there. But a lot of times movies aren't even made there because of just the high costs. And I get that, just getting permits and things like that. I didn't get a chance to see, too many big celebrities, but I did, just on my one trip, did see some famous people, or at least some known people, whether they were C, D, or even E list actors, whatever. But I did see something just on my one trip there. So, there are people there. The industry is there. Even if movies really don't have to be shot there. But that was cool for me. All right, so that was my trip to Los Angeles. I had a really good time, and I look forward to going back sometime soon. All right, you guys can please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please check out all my links below, and please sign up to my blog on www.blackfilmmakerguide.com. All right, check you guys out later.